Wow, they're massive.
Wind turbines are surprising machines. You know, I'm an engineer by degree, so I used to love these things. But you know, each turbine takes about 30 truckloads to get here. Steel towers, plastic blades. The blades of a turbine actually are a little bit like an airplane wing, but they're made with layers and layers of bisphenol A plastic, usually around a core of carbon fiber or balsa wood from the Amazon. And then on the outside they put some kind of an epoxy paint or something along those lines. Actually, over time they degrade, just like a propeller on a boat or a propeller on a plane. So over the life of a turbine, they're throwing out kilos and tons of microplastics. These turbines are 140 meters up to the generator, and then each blade is approximately 80 meters long, weighing 20 tons. The generator on top is probably another 60 tons. There's about 100 or 120 tons, so the equivalent of maybe 120 cars on top of this steel tower. And then what lurks beneath is a massive raft of concrete. Thousands of tons of concrete down there, massive hole. And you know, this is what they call progress. It's always carbon dioxide, no talk about poisoning the planet through heavy metals, no talking about poisoning the planet through plastics. You know, if you stop burning fossil fuels but you keep making plastics, you still kill the planet. It's crazy. Insanity. Yeah, so you can just see the scale.
These steel towers are being produced in China. The reason? It's cheap. They're manufactured in coal-fired steel plants, as we're being told, not so environmental friendly. Made in China and shipped in large cargo ships all the way to Sweden. Driven hundreds of kilometers through the forest and finally be constructed to last 20 years. Just to produce some electricity. And all the energy that went into it could be used for other things.
You know, this is the reality of wind farms. Devastation. Clearfeld. Up. This is wind farms. I just thought you'd like to see how they line them up. Line them up, cut them down. Rows and rows, ready for the machines to come and collect them to be liquefied, shredded, whatever they get used for. And you can see they're gonna be blasting this out. Ooh, that's scary. Those are all explosive holes. And as you can see, you know, this isn't pretty. But if it's hidden away and people don't see it, people don't have to deal with it. This used to be the top of a hill. They blasted it away with great violence. You know, one of the things about wind farms that I'm learning is that there's a lot of violence involved in wind power. Starting from how it's made, through to where the minerals come from that they use in the supply chains, through to those who speak out, questioning whether this makes sense.
It's not a surprise. Windmills heavily rely on critical minerals. Neodymium, praseodymium, and dysprosium. And these rare earth elements rely on volatile and Chinese concentrated supply chains. It delivered 70% of the global demand in 2018. The good news: the Chinese market will go wild. The bad news: it's damaging a lot more than it will fix.
内蒙古的包头是中国最大的稀土生产基地。尽管稀土是珍贵的矿产资源，但是污染危害性却非常大。
The environmental impact of the extraction is estimated to be more damaging than fossil fuel extraction due to the toxic effluent emissions and waste generated from the intensive mining activity. Tons of radioactive waste is generated as a result of the refinement of the minerals. It has impacted the access to fresh water and food production in local communities surrounding the mines. In some regions, vegetation has stopped growing. Cattle have died from toxins in the soil, and drinking water has been contaminated. But there's more. Windmills also need cobalt. A lot. Again, a rare mineral. 70% of the world's supply comes out of the cobalt mines of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. You know, that African country, which strangely enough is in a bloody conflict for generations. To say it in less words, we're creating a bit of a mess. And no, we're not saving the planet with it.
You know, you're in the city, in your comfortable space, and you don't know what's going on in the middle of the forest. When I was sitting in my office in London, I used to finance wind farms, and I believed in this, but I didn't know. And you know, as soon as I got more information and I started looking behind the propaganda, I couldn't believe it. I had cognitive dissonance, and I never thought I would be that kind of person who would just ignore something. So then I went into it, and you know, I've come into these wind farms now. I've looked at the devastation. I've spoken to the people who build them. They even admit that this is ridiculous. But they're getting paid, and they've got bills to pay, so they just go along with it. But at some point, we're all going to look back and say, why were we such idiots?
So yeah, this should save the planet.
You know, if this saved the planet, sign me up. I'd grab a shovel. I'd be digging here. But now that I know that this is actually going to destroy the planet, I'm raising the alarm. You know, every time I go out and talk to someone, I'm trying to make them convince me that this makes sense. No one's convinced me yet.